Wholeness, beautiful beings, welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. So I know that I was supposed to post something yesterday, but I'm glad I took the break. I've been working through a bout of mental exhaustion, to be quite honest with you, and I just needed to allow myself to rest and to do little to nothing yesterday. So here I am. And so I pretty much have been working through with my inner work. I had an epiphany, I think, between yesterday and this morning, and I'm in meditation, and I was thinking and feeling within myself a need to share this with you all. So, with the title of this video, it's more, I think, if anything, of empowerment. When you find yourself in a space where you are over-identifying with a situation, a circumstance, a relationship, an event, an experience in your life, it can be overwhelming. You then begin to invite unnecessary suffering. And one of the teachings in Buddhism is that life is suffering. We come into this life in pain when we take our first breath, our inhale, exhale, of our lungs on the first day and the first moment that we are born. And up into the last moment, if we are conscious of it even, it can be quite painful, uncomfortable, full of fear and uncertainty. But I am discovering that, when we over-identify a lot with things that are obviously outside of our control, that, we struggle with issues that are bigger than us, that have always been there before we, the issue presented itself to us, or we walked into it, we are allowed, I feel, to define our lives. And we must be very cautious as to not allow life to define us. When we allow life to define us, we are on the whim of everything external. We're at the whim of our bosses, our employers, our society, our government, our neighborhood, our culture, our political system, health system. There is no, you're like a leaf blowing in the wind rather than being the roots of a tree. It's better to be the root of the tree, regardless of the health of the soil, regardless if the soil is nurturing or tainted. You're the root of the tree that holds the tree in place through all the different, seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall, autumn, And so I choose moving forward in my life to define my life how I see fit. This is playing with perception. How you perceive your reality dictates your mental health. I truly believe that. And no, I'm not saying to become, illusional or delusional of what the truth is in your life. And sometimes it's really hard to face that, when you manifest certain experiences in your life and that experience turns out to be complete trash. You manifest a relationship, you open yourself to receive love, and you end up being heartbroken. And I think a lot of practitioners of the law of manifesting, co-creators out there that are like, well, these are the things that I desire in life, and I will do everything in my power to get it. And in the asking, you must understand that in the asking, you shall receive, and then some. Anything that you desire and you're actively working on to manifest into your life experience, you will receive that. And then you will receive more than what you've asked for. And it could work in your favor or not work in your favor. And that is the power of practicing non-attachment. It's a weird dance that we have to go through. We have to be open to the experience in a non-attached way. And there are moments where you really need to practice non-attachment or detachment and observe. Then there are other moments where you truly are in the thicket of the experience itself, and you can't avoid the feelings. You can't avoid the feelings of depression or disappointment or joy or happiness or accomplishment. It's a weird dichotomy, I find, in, as a being having a human experience. I am actively working on observing a situation that I'm in right now that it's an issue that's been ongoing before I was even part of that environment. And it's like, you kind of catch yourself in a way. You're like, oh, okay, what role am I playing in this? Was this situation here before I even showed up? Okay, and then a lot of the time when we are over-identifying with a human experience, it's because we're right in the middle of it. And it's only when we are in the conclusion and the ending of the experience is where we realize how deep or how attached we were to the initial event. And this is across the board. This is not just your personal relationships. These are professional relationships. These are your work environments. This is your family dynamic in your household. This is friendship. This is traveling. This is, you find yourself like, okay, this is what I asked for, but why is it like this? What's going on? What's the lesson? That's most important. That's the most important question anyone could ask. What is the lesson? What am I being asked to see? What am I being asked to observe within myself while I'm going through this? And again, as empaths, we have to be mindful and heartful to not make other people's problems our problems. We're constantly being projected on by life. Life makes us projectors. Constantly being projected on by life. Meaning a lot of external stimuli, a lot of projectile vomit of energy and thinking and ways of being. And you have to have a certain level of fortitude to be able to observe and sustain yourself in a balanced way through all that. Because it's so easy to get tied up with your feelings and with your emotions. And then that whole situation has nothing to do with you. It's just asking you to watch. It's asking you to be the watcher. It's asking you to be the observer. And then when it is time to play a role in it, you play the role, and that's it. No more, no less than that. You can't be a hero. And you also can't, be complicit and compliant. Sometimes you really do have to put your foot down, but you must be sure to identify what role you're playing in any situation, because it's so easy to get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up in the political firestorm that's happening right now, I guess. It truly is. They play on our emotions because we are sentient beings. We're deep in our egos and our feelings. And my motto this year, of one of many, is facts, not feelings. Look at the facts. What's the truth of the matter? Your feelings are emotions, energy in motion. That's what feelings are. Constantly in flux. To me, Emotions are like a river. One water droplet doesn't stay put. It moves consistently. You lose count as to where it goes. It just moves constantly. There's movement in emotion, and anytime an emotion becomes stagnant and stale and old, you got to move that dam out of the way. Allow the emotions to flow, but you cannot allow your feelings to be the core, the focal point of your experience. If anything, they are tools to tell you where you're at. They are tools to tell you where you're lacking, what's happening. They're like your feelers, invisible little hands. They're tentacles that pick up the energy around you. That's your compass. But it should not be, I am angry. No, you feel anger. I am disappointed. No, you feel disappointment. I am depressed. No, you feel depressed, right? I'm sad. You feel sadness. There's a very different way to engage with our emotions. Over-identification plagues this world. Over-identification plagues society. What are we without our identities? Nothing? Are we nothing? What is nothingness? Do not allow life to define you. That is your job. You define you. You define life. Your life. Not the lives of other people, because people will do that too. They will take account of another person's life and say, this is what you are. This is how you'll be. This is how we perceive you. This is what you are. Like they'll project an image onto you if you allow it. If you take that on. If you consume it and it becomes you. No. You define your life. I was speaking to someone very close to me, and he's in the middle. He's much older. He could be my father's age, a mentor in my life. We've been friends for several years now. And, he's come to the conclusion in his perception of his reality for him. He's very much in the space of nothingness. Of just truly just being present. Right? Allowing life to pretty much define him, and he's just being open to that. I'm not. I don't believe that to me that there's no autonomy in that. And I respect how he perceives, his reality. But, for me and the season of life that I'm in right now, and it could change, right, with age, but the season of life that I'm in right now, it's like, no, I don't want to be a victim of circumstance. Oh, this has happened to me, so now I have this mindset, and now, I'll, without getting too personal, in a last failed relationship I had, I've allowed that experience to define, intimacy, physical intimacy, sexuality, how I engage with the opposite sex. That's not healthy. You should not allow circumstances and people and relationships to define who you are. I'm not saying that we are not affected by it. That's not what I'm saying. We are always affected by things that happen to us, for sure, but it's one thing to be affected by it, but also to allow it to shape your identity as a person and to define who you are. And then you carry that on for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, that happens to a lot of human beings. And that's why with serial monogamy, you leave one relationship and then a little bit of time passes and you start a whole new relationship. A little bit of time passes and you know, whole nother relationship. But each relationship, you're carrying on that baggage of the previous one. That's not healthy. Or in your career shift, your career changes, you carry on the baggage of your previous, you know, career experiences, and that shapes where you go, that shapes how you are, how you react, and where, you know, how you challenge yourself. Oh no, that didn't work out, so I'm not going to do it. F that. F that. This is just one experience of millions that I could possibly be having, and it's a challenge. Oh freaking well. What does that have to truly, should this negative professional experience define all of me? That's unfair to me. That's unfair to me. That's unfair to my life. If I allow 1 or 2 or 3 negative experiences to knock me off my kilter and, oh, I'm not going to finish what I set out to do. Absolutely freaking not. You know, like, it's empowering for me, this moment right now, because, man, there's some things that bring you down to your knees so much that it'll make you want to quit. It'll make you bitter, resentful, run away. And I don't want to run away from my challenges. I'm not one to run. As much as I've traveled in my life, I've never run away from things or people. No. Like, working in a space where the people don't want you there, it's not a great feeling, but that whole experience should not define your purpose. Ever. Do not allow life to define your purpose in life. That is a soul-crushing, spirit-killing, horrible way to go about life. When you're not wanted, if anything, if you're not wanted in a relationship, you're not wanted at a job position, you're not wanted in your community, if anything, you need to double down on who you are and how you are. When we shift our consciousness within ourselves, we can be so powerful that we shift the consciousness surrounding us. And if that you end up getting pushed out, kicked out anyway, so be it. You are solid with yourself. You're solid within the self. You're solid with your purpose. You're not defined by other people in your work environment. You're not defined by your societal political issues. And no, it's not easy. It feels very uncomfortable to not be wanted, to not be desired in the way that you know you're deserving of. It sucks. But it's almost like the universe or spirit or God is asking us to realize a truth within ourselves. Do you really love yourself? Do you really believe in your capabilities? Are you really open to learning, to expanding, to strengthening your faith in whatever you set out to do? When we are forced to face opposition, and these questions need to be coming up, you need to pay attention to these questions. That's what I feel like. I feel like it's like, do you really want, are you going to falter? Are you going to buckle? And also, with all due respect, you're in a relationship that's shoving you out. For example, I'll use a romantic relationship for an example, okay? We've all been through it. Most of my viewers, you guys are at the age to understand this. Your partner is giving you every indication that they dislike you. They're not going to verbally say, I hate you, I don't want you, right? Some people have experienced that where it's so toxic in a relationship that they're like, I can't stand you, I hate you, get out of my life. right? But most of the time, you feel that you're just being tolerated for a certain amount of time, right? But in this theoretical relationship, they're showing you every indication they don't want your ass there. They do not want you there. They're doing everything in their power to let you know that anything that you're about, how you breathe, how you carry yourself, what your thoughts are, how you express yourself emotionally, is not respected, not wanted, not desired. By all means, I'm not saying for you to, when you're facing that type of opposition in life, because that was just an example, right? We can all relate to. But when you face this type of opposition in a workplace or within a family dynamic or a marriage or a community, I'm not saying for you to just take it and to just tolerate it indefinitely, but really use moments of opposition as your fuel for yourself. For yourself. A lot of times some people will tell me that I over-explain. Oh, don't worry, you don't need to over-explain. You don't need to, I'm like, let me talk. You know what I'm saying? I spent the majority of my youth and adolescence not speaking. I mean, I just didn't like talking with people. I loved watching people. I didn't like speaking to people. I didn't share my thoughts as I do now. I spent, probably good over almost 20 years of my life just not really expressing myself. And I express myself through music and performance, which I feel a great call to do and to connect with now in a different way than I did when I was, back in early 2020s, where, I was uploading all my music so that, I could share with the world. And it's like, now that's not a driving force anymore. I just want to do it for joy and, discipline, mastery, just for the sake of creativity. And if I so happen to bump into somebody or a group of people and there's opportunities that open up because of that, so be it. But I'm no longer in this space of needing to, like, that validation, you know what I'm saying? Of, like, hey, look at me. Look how talented I am. Like, who doesn't want a little bit of that? But it's not the sole purpose behind my performance anymore, and my art and my music. It's just because I love to do it. And so it's like, but when you're dealing with opposition and you hold all these gifts, right? All these gifts, and the opposition is so intimidated, jealous, or just whatever, like you're getting negativity, it's okay to just withhold your gifts. Not dim your light, but just say, oh, okay. Like, this isn't the right environment for me to share all of what I got, all of what I'm capable of. This environment is asking me to make sure I'm solid on my square. I'm solid on my 2 feet. That I'm sure of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. That I'm intentional behind my movement. Because when you lack intention, when you lack focus and discipline, and you're unsure, but you're just going along, you're like a leaf blowing in the wind, like I've mentioned before in this video, yeah, you become victim of circumstance, and life will define you however life fucking wants to. And then you're just kind of like, oh, well, I did this, but I failed, or they fired me, so I'm not going to pursue it anymore. No. Recently, someone very close to me, well, I won't share it, but I will say, like, when when it comes to dealing with failures, opposition, it's almost like life is asking you, how bad do you want it? You know, it's tricky with relationships because, yeah, we're human, and, you know, romantic relationships, you're going to run into that conflict, but it shouldn't be where a person has the ultimate disdain towards you. Never. Have your arguments, have your conflict, have disagreements, but there's always love there, right? But when there's no love, then that's showing you something. Yet they want you around, though, right? It's a power, it's all ego. Truly it is. But that's what I wanted to share with you all. Remember, you know, you define your life. You can allow life to define you. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. That's a lot of suffering, unnecessary suffering. And suffering can be avoided. We're here in life, okay? For every success that you have, someone else is suffering because of it. That's kind of harsh, but for every failure that you have, someone is able to, you know, succeed, and to feel that, you know, someone is out there is triumphant and successful based off of, you know, of what a hardship you're going through. We're all interconnected. That's what I mean. And I know that's kind of weird to hear, but it is what it is, you know, like it's just, the hand on the clock will always descend, you know, every hand on the clock. There's an up, there's a down. What goes up must come down. As above, so below. But the most important thing is it's your responsibility to define what that is for you, what those successes are for you, what those failures are for you. What is the lesson that you're learning in those moments? You know, like, you allow your successes and failures to define you, like just people. I mean, we see it manifested in the physical reality in Hollywood, and Hollyweird, not Hollywood, Hollyweird, where you have incredibly famous, successful people that own worth $100 million, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're miserable, or they're struggling, struggling. And I'm like, they have allowed their success to define them. And then when they're failing, their failures then define them. It's very sad. Very, very sad. I just, and to actually see that what I'm talking about manifested in that way, the whole world can see it. Because Hollyweird is a reflection of the consciousness of the collective, an aspect of the collective, an aspect of our how we are. And you know what I'm saying? And so you see a superstar, what do we know about stars? Every star has a death, right? The light that comes from a star in space isn't indefinite, it's impermanent. When you look up in the night sky and you see light from stars up above, the time that light hits your eyes, that star could be dead. But anywho, may this message find you well and whole, and I just wanted to really share that with you, because it's like, personally for me, it's one thing. It's like, okay, I left one toxic space and now I find myself in another toxic space. What the F? I mean, I'm sure that's happened to you guys. Like, you find yourself, like, you're like, oh, okay, okay, so I left that toxic crap and let me go after this. Let's go on a whole new adventure. And then you're like, oh my God, this is so similar to what I left behind. What the actual fuck? Like, what? Why? Why am I going through this? What is the message? And what I'm gathering is, oh, don't allow this experience to define your purpose. Don't do it. Keep doing you. Keep going and doing whatever you're doing to get whatever you're trying to achieve. And keep going. Because I truly am a firm believer of the impermanence of life. Things don't just stay the same. They never do. It's almost like coming back to your hometown after 20 years. And you're like, the same buildings, right? But the cars are different. People still speak the same way. But they talk about different things. You know what I'm saying? Same restaurant, but different menu. Like, things shift and change. And when there's opposition, it's almost like I think of like a crystal, a clear quartz, or a diamond, right? You need pressure. And with all that pressure and opposition and stagnant energy going against something else, you get a diamond. You get something else out of that. Things never stay the same, ever. No matter, and people try hard to fight to keep things the way that they think that they should be. That's what I see in my current situation. People will fight change, tooth and nail. You gotta stick with the facts, not feelings, people. You have to create that sacred space to explore those feelings, explore those emotions, explore them, feel them, especially when you're in the thick of it. You can't avoid your feelings. That's not what I'm saying. But when facing opposition, you'd best stick to the truth. Stick to what is true, what's factual, what's backed up by evidence. Because emotions are like the river. Emotions are like a river. You can't just say, well, I was feeling this way that day. We change, and we're like yesterday. I felt like crap. Past couple days, to be honest. Tuesday, just low, really low, and it was almost like the pivotal moment in my mental exhaustion of grad school and working full time and other work stuff, and I'm like, I can't look at a screen. I can't do one more assignment. So I spent Tuesday and Wednesday just not doing anything school related. I was like, fuck, I can't do it anymore. I need a break. Or I will break. Right? And, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah. You must define life. Your life. Not your hubbies, not your wives, not your kids, not your boss. We will build stories around stories, as my mentor said, which I did agree with. We will build stories for other people, like it's night and day. You need to focus on your own damn story. Who's playing what role in your story, in your life? What is their intention? What's your intention? What's your focus? What's your purpose in the story that is your life? Not the story of your employer or the business or corporate or your marriage. It's like, no. Just to add, again, like I always say in many of my videos, I am not a licensed therapist. I am not a guru. I'm not, I don't have all the answers. I will never have all the answers. Let me backtrack. I do have all the answers. They are within me. However, I feel like humans, we are granted access to the answers within ourselves based off of the level of perception that we have, how open we are, how much we surrender to the present moment is what dictates how we perceive reality, and the answers that we're always seeking for outside of ourselves. So we do have a lot of the answers to a lot of our problems and a lot of our questions. But it truly depends on how you are defining yourself in your life, how open you are, how willing you are to surrender to the truth or your truth. That's it. See ya. Thank you for tuning in.